everyone. I've had a lot of questions about my version of Higher Ground that I put out on my YouTube channel last year, so I thought I'd just post a video today just to clear a couple of those things up. It seems like what people are finding really difficult is the chords I'm using and also the rhythm. So I'm going to go essentially over those two things the most. Firstly, the tuning in the video, I have the guitar tuned down a half step, then the bottom E string tuned down another whole step. So today I have it in standard and I have it in drop D. So that's essentially the same thing, only the guitar is tuned to standard. If you want to jam along to the original that Stevie Wonder does, that's even another half step up. So you can put a capo on one, and then all these chords should work over the tune, and you can practice it. So first I'm going to go over the chords, and it's actually fairly simple. I just essentially found a way, just to play the D, the D minor, and just playing it as a D minor 7, and then I'm hammering on to this, which is the F on the bottom string, of course, because we're tuned down a whole step, so I have to play up a whole step to get the bass note of essentially the top part of this F major chord. So when I hammer on to the 3rd fret on that F note, it's essentially turning that D minor 7 into an F major chord. So that's going to be the 2nd chord, and then I just slide the whole thing up another whole step, 2 frets, to get the G chord. So those are the 3 chords I'm using through the verse, or the first part of the verse. So that's just without the rhythm, that's just the straight chords. So D minor 7, and F, and G. So then the verse finishes up playing an E chord, so I have to play it, of course, because we're in drop tuning, I have to play it with different fingers how we usually play an E major chord, because we need to be fretting the bass note, which is going to be on the 2nd fret, of course, because it's tuned down a whole step. So I'm playing the bass note with my middle finger, and then playing the rest of the E major chord with ring finger, pinky, and first finger, index finger. So that's how we're playing our E major chord in this tune. And the chord after that is just playing that G chord that was in the first part of the verse, and then it finishes off on a C7 and then rolls back round to the beginning again. So the chorus begins with those stabs on the G and going to the D minor 7. And I'm playing it kind of like this. I have my fingers kind of laid over the D string and the E string so that they can't move. So I can play that D minor 7 without worrying about any open strings. And I can hit that open D if I want to. So just going between the G and the D minor 7. And the section finishes off with the E major again that we played in the verse. So it's the E major played with those fingers, and then the bass note played where the F sharp would usually be if we were in standard, but we're in drop tuning, so I had to play it a step up. And then we finish the section on a G chord. Again, the same one we used in the intro and in the verse. So if you've not played this kind of stuff on the acoustic guitar before, it might be a little bit tricky to pick up, but I'll play it really slow and then really show what's going on with my right hand. So I'm playing it swung with a really strong emphasis on the backbeat on 2, not so much on the 4, but definitely on the 2. So I'll just demonstrate the first chord, because this is probably the trickiest part of the rhythm. So I'm doing something like this. So I'm doing like a mute and the backbeat at the same time. Yeah, and then I'm doing a kind of hammer on to the G. So you notice at the end of the phrases I'm having to play 2 downstrokes to get back into the beginning of the phrase again. Because it's an uneven amount of up and down strokes, so I have to play 2 downstrokes, like something like this. So in the next part where I'm playing the E and the G, I'm emphasizing both the 2 and the 4 this time. So and I'm just kind of aiming, you don't have to play it from the G string like I am there, you can play, but I think that kind of sounds too cheery for this part of the tune. It needs to be more kind of power chordy, simple, you know. And it's the same thing on the G chord. Same rhythm. And then it finishes on the C chord. So this next part is just playing the G again, but to the D minor 7 that I was showing you earlier on. So it's something like this. And it's emphasis on every beat. And you can kind of swing it up if you want to, but you don't have to. I do sometimes change it up, you know, if needs be. And then it goes back to the E chord, to the G again to end that section. But then I go back to swinging those chords. And whenever I'm going back to the open D, I try to kind of fit in that kind of minor to sort of half majory third to kind of get that blue note in there. So if you want to play along to the version that I put out on my YouTube channel last year, you're going to have to tune down another half step from where we were today. So essentially kind of E flat tuning, Jimi Hendrix tuning, but with the drop D also. And if you want to play along to the Stevie version, then you have to play it as I am now and then capo 1, or you could tune the whole guitar up a half step. You know, it just depends what you're going for really. So yeah, that was kind of like a brief explanation of kind of what I'm doing in that tune. If anybody has any more questions about it, then just message me and I'll kind of try and clear things up as best I can. Cheers.